I'm going to bring TFA board member Richard Archie up here. He's going to be introducing our speaker, but he has some words of encouragement for us, as he always does. The work in a representative republic is never done. You don't get to sit down and say, okay, I guess we got that finished. You probably don't realize, but we didn't even have a Bill of Rights until way after the Constitution had been ratified. So the work was never done, and it's still going on. Please welcome Richard Archie.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm very heartened to see this crowd here today. Mary was talking a few minutes ago about the TFA coming into her office. I'm probably the guy that she's talking about because I tend to show up. Some of them look at me and go, oh no, it's Archie again. Some are glad to see us. The whole point of the matter is if you were married, young, had that first job, at the end of the week you had about $14 left, and so you and your wife went to the grocery store with the little piece of paycheck after you paid your rent and your car note, and when you got back in it was already dark. When you turned the light on, the cockroaches hit the wall in that first little hovel that you were in that you could afford. When you go to your representative's office in Nashville, you're turning the light on. If you don't do that, they don't have to worry about what you're saying or what you're thinking. If you get an opportunity, come this year when we have our TFA and GOA Day on the Hill. We had a number of folks show up this last time, but not nearly enough. I'm going to be like Mark Green, my good friend who's helped us for a number of years. We need to double the number of people that show up. And to Chris Todd's point, it is absolutely necessary that we make sure our elected representatives know what we think. And one of the reasons that's so important, that is an actual constitutional obligation that you have in Tennessee. If you look at Article 1, Section 23 of the Tennessee Constitution, it says the right of assembly and redress of grievances, that the citizens have a right in a peaceable manner to assemble together for their common good. That's what we're doing here today. We've driven from all over the state, from East Tennessee, West Tennessee, come in here, and what we're doing is we are setting ourselves up to redress our grievances with our government and to instruct their representatives and to apply to those invested with the powers of government for redress of grievances or other proper purposes by address or remonstrance. I have threatened over a number of years to put a sign up behind me every time I speak that says remonstrate, because very few people know what that word means, but it's actually a right that is given to us in our Declaration of Rights, that we have the opportunity to instruct our representatives and to let them know what we expect from them. Folks, they are our hired, elected employees. That's what they are. And so what we do is we vest in them the hope that they're going to look after our children and our grandchildren. Would you want to drop your kids off at school and not even look at the front door and see who's there? No. What you've got to do is you've got to figure out what's happening. Well, you need to figure out what's happening in Nashville at the General Assembly. I want to take a few seconds to talk to you about the federal Constitution. And the 10th Amendment is probably the most important thing going. It says the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution. Now think about that. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, or reserved to the states respectively or to the people. If you look at Tennessee's Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 says that all power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of those ends, they have at all times, and that they is the people, by the way, an unalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper. Now think, that's your charge also from the Constitution. You're supposed to be in charge of government. It's not the governor, and it's not the General Assembly. They are simply your hired employees. And so if you don't tell them what you expect, they get to operate with impunity, folks. Now, understanding what the 10th Amendment says, we go to the next one that's very important. Article 6, Section 2. And everybody loves to tout this as a supremacy clause. But get the first two words of that clause. It says, this Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. But go back to the first two words, this Constitution. Understand, folks, that the Bill of Rights is a part of the Constitution. It is the supreme law of the land. If you kept up with what happened this year in one of the Supreme Court cases that Mark Green was talking about earlier, in New York State Rifle and Pistol Club v. Bruin, the Supreme Court upheld the right of the citizen to carry a firearm, and they didn't say handgun, by the way. Can you imagine when Tennessee put the Overmountain men going over to fight Ferguson, if they had carried handguns only, what chance would we have had? When you see in your mind's eye, you think about the Tennessee Volunteers, you see a guy standing up with a long rifle, or I do at least. Now, you realize that 42 other states in the nation allow their citizens to carry a long gun without a permit? Do you realize it's New York, New Jersey, and Tennessee with Florida, and I can't figure where they've got this from, but those are the only 4 states in the nation that do not allow their citizens to carry long guns. That's something I think we have to change this next year. Understand? Yeah. Every state that touches Tennessee allows it right now. Every one of them. Just like for years and years and years, every state that touched Tennessee allowed open carry without a permit. But we couldn't. Why is that? We're the patron state of shooting stuff. My goodness. It is absolutely necessary that what we do is we inform our representatives. That's our job. I'm going to hold you to it. I take it serious. Chris Todd can tell you that's true. I know when he leaves the house in the morning, headed to Nashville, and I'm on the phone. And he takes the time. Thank God I've got a representative that allows me to help educate him, because these guys can't do it by themselves, folks. You think about the number of issues that come before the General Assembly and the amount of time they've got. If you're not willing to do the research for them and send it to them, how in the world could they keep up with it? But it's your job, just like I take mine seriously, you need to take yours seriously. Mark also talked a moment ago about national organizations who have your Second Amendment rights as their main focus. I can promise you, I was a life member of another organization when I was 18 years old. It was the first thing that I joined. I have since foregone dealing with them and giving them money because they don't spend it correctly. GOA, on the other hand, has turned out to be an extremely good partner with Tennessee. Joe Stats and I have walked those halls at Nashville, and we get ridiculed by some of the representatives and we get welcomed by some of them, but I'll tell you this much, they know we're there. The gentleman that I'm going to introduce right now, Erich Pratt, is the Executive Vice President of GOA. And let me tell you what they are. They're an excellent organization, and they spend your money well. They don't waste it on suits and trips and vacations and such truck as that. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce Erich Pratt.